Almost cut my hair. It happened just the other day. It was getting kinda long. I could have said it was in my way, but I didn't, and I wonder why. I feel like letting my freak flag fly. I feel like I owe it to someone. Might be 'cause I had the flu for Christmas. I'm not feeling up to par. It increases my paranoia, like looking in the mirror and seeing a police car. But I'm not giving in an inch to fear. Promise myself this year I feel like I owe it to someone. When I finally get myself together, gonna get back to that sunny southern weather and find a place inside the lair. Separate the weed from the chaff. I feel like I owe it to someone, like I owe it, ooh, like I owe it, ooh, like I owe it.
Shout out.
Thank you so much, friends, for joining us for another Sugar Lime Blue Sunday shout-out. This is Dave. I'm Ashley of Sugar Lime Blue, and this Sunday shout-out has been another retro Sunday shout-out, going back out to Sean Crozier, and also in memoriam.
In memoriam.
So, losing some great music makers in the world, and it makes us sad, so thought we'd revisit this one for y'all. Anyway, like, subscribe, share, comment, ring that bell so you never miss a shout out. We'll see you next week with another one. Shout out!
So when I was probably 10 or 12, I heard this song called Southern Cross by Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And it's the first time that I remember hearing something on the radio. I don't remember if it was current at the time. It was one of their later albums. So it was Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And the song was called Southern Cross. And it was the first time I remember being drawn to vocals and their harmonies.
Okay.
And also lyrics. Before that, it was always about Led Zeppelin cool guitar riffs, and rock gods. And
so you've always
gods.
been drawn to guitar.
So even when I was really young, it was I was wow, and I really liked the Beatles too when I was a kid. But I remember this particular song, Southern Cross by Crosby, Stills, and Nash, was the first time I was wow. Harmonies are really cool, and it's a song about a boat, and I listened to it over and over, getting the story of it, and I really liked it. And of course later on I was turned on to Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, album Deja Vu, and all the great hits on it, Teach Your Children Well and stuff like that sounded so familiar to me the first time I heard it. Oh wow, this is almost like a kid song or something. It was so familiar to me. It sounded so familiar. It was so true. And then later on, I think I gravitated more towards Neil Young in his songwriting, because I really like him. But always was a fan of David Crosby and his vocals. And I was surprised to learn that he did not write as much of the CSNY catalog as I thought he did. But he definitely had a fair amount of hits, including, the one we did today. And that's always been a favorite David Crosby song of mine since I was probably a teenager.
The first time I ever heard that song, you sang it.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever singing this song.
Yep, you did. You did.
Interesting.
Yep.
I turned you on to David Crosby.
So much music. So much music.
It's really good. So that's a fun one to play. It's really fun. It's just a really fun song to me. And also, it's I think it captures the time and a certain feeling that people still have, a paranoia. It's along with that, and that was around the time of the Buffalo Springfield, which was Stephen Stills and Neil Young, and they were writing For What It's Worth, something happening here. It's not exactly clear, and kind of this it was a time when people were really disenchanted with the federal government, and it seems like we're there again, and I wish that. Maybe in those times where people seem to pull together and unite against a common cause, it's we're so separated now.
Yeah, I think it's good to unite for something too, not necessarily just against, but to have something to go for.
Well, it's I think a lot of the movement was probably more of
for peace,
and for things.
Yeah. Well, it was also a time where you were. Where it was unacceptable for a young man to have long hair.
It was.
So making a conscious decision to just keep your long hair as a young man was a visual announcement to your standing, probably politically and socially. Yeah, you were. So even though even the lyrics say, I could have said my hair was getting in my way, and I could tell you, as a person with long hair, it does get in the way. It gets in the seatbelt, it gets in the window, it gets in the doors.
Right.
It wants to utilize the facilities with you. Hair can get in the way. So to make the conscious decision, even though it can be a bit of an annoyance at times, to almost be wearing your sign with you all the time.
I think it definitely comes into play because we tend to judge people by the way they look, and I know that I've been judged for the way that I look or the way that I speak.
You're so handsome.
Yeah. So, but when I first moved to the South, it was I was called a Yankee because I had long hair and I had a northern accent, you know, and it's just, I think we tend to judge people that way, but I've always made the conscious decision too, and maybe that's why I associated with the song, in that I identify with a certain thing, and like my look is part of that. I think for a lot of people it is. You know, it's like you feel a certain way about your life and a certain way about your attitude. You know, and it's like I didn't always feel like, you know, like I was like everybody else, and I didn't want to look like everybody else. You know, and at a young age, I was like, after I got out of high school, I just grew out my hair, and it's never really been super short again since then. You know, it's been long ever since, or longish. You know, varying degrees of longer male hairstyles, and I think
when I met you, your hair was actually longer than my hair was at the time.
it was pretty long, and I think that, you know, I definitely had an attitude of difference, and like, you know, like I don't want to be like everybody else, you know, and I don't want to just blend in, you know, for better or worse.
Carving out uniqueness.
Yeah, you carve your own uniqueness, and sometimes, like, I think especially as a young man, you tend to do it in the way you look, you know, tattoos, and, you know, clothing. And
you understand you only have
music,
control over your own person. So,
right? I mean, music's like a big part of like carving out who you are and saying, you know, like, I like this music because it's unpopular, you know, or I like this music because, you know, sometimes there's obviously more to it than that. Like, it represents a way that I feel, and they talk about things I believe in, and they do things like that.
Or they have really good guitar playing, like Santana.
Right, and I think, well, and he had a great positive attitude that people swelled to, and I think, like, you know, there was definitely, as much as David Crosby was a great singer and maybe like songwriter, he probably also was a role model to people as to, like, let's speak out against the machine, stand up. Like, you can stand up, like, you can see that David Crosby always stood up for what he believed in. You can't say that he, like, just, like, went willingly into the night, you know? So I think that's very admirable in any man's quality, you know? Perhaps no matter what they believe, is more important that they live what they believe. And, you know, I don't know David Crosby, but I always got the feeling that he lived what he believed, you know, from what I read and what I've heard of him. So, but yeah. A couple people have asked us to identify the guitars that I play, because I tend to play
all the guitars,
and I have a bunch of them. So this is a
Wildcat,
Epiphone Wildcat in Koa, which the Koa makes it kind of rare, and it's got these.
Koa is the type of wood.
Yeah, Koa is the type of wood, and it's.
What is the fretboard? Because I was noticing it today. It's really beautiful.
So that is, I think that is rosewood.
It's shiny than I'm used to a fretboard being.
Yeah. So this is an interesting guitar in the fact that the way that it's set up, it has 2 volume knobs, one for each pickup, like a front and back pickup. It has single tone control, and then it has a master volume up here, so you can kind of set one pickup quieter than the other, and then turn them all down at once by turning that down, which is a little different. It's more like a Gretsch type of setup, but then it has the switch up here like a Les Paul has, and it's kind of, you know, Les Paul setup, but it has P90s, which is Gibson's, and Epiphone in this case, a version of a humbucker. And you can see that I picked up this guitar fairly recently, several months ago, and it still has the stickers on it. So it was owned by like a collector, and he never really played it, and I just thought it was a really nice looking guitar. Had to pick it up, and I've been playing it. I've been really digging it. It's a little dusty, but it's a semi-hollow body. Which means there's a center block, is what a semi-hollow means.
Okay, so the edges of it.
Right, a true hollow body doesn't have any blocking in the middle.
Okay, so it's heavier than a true hollow body.
Right, this is a little heavier, and then a hollow body, like an acoustic, it allows the top to resonate even more.
Okay.
Like, this resonates a lot because these parts are hollow, so they resonate.
So my hollow body, though, like, it's got,
like
it's almost
That's why it has acoustic. That bridge that floats, because it can't fasten down into anything.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, all right.
So, like, there's a semi-hollow where a lot of times you'll see the bridge stop here on a semi-hollow, and it drills into that center block.
Now I gotta go look at my guitar.
Like a true hollow body usually has some type of tailpiece where it wraps around and has like a bridge that hangs up, so that way the strings are pulling against the back instead of bolting down through, because there's nothing to bolt into and it would just pull out. So anyhow, Epiphone Wildcat in Koa, and I'm considering selling it if anybody's interested. Send your offers. But I do really love it. I think it's like a really nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It really is.
And it's rare. I mean, in this finish, it's actually rare. Like, you can find it in regular colors, but it's a pretty cool guitar. Let us know. Let us know what you think it sounded like, if you like the sound. And we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, if you didn't like it, just keep it to yourself.
Yeah, if you didn't like it, then
it's okay. We don't have to share.
Okay.
We don't have to
I'll
share
probably
those
play
emotions.
other ones also. So.